Well, hi there. So in this video, we're going to do some practice with GDP. Is it counted? Is it not? And if it is, what category? If it's not, why not? So let's get started. Okay, so in class, I think we actually divided this up and kind of conquered it together, but let's go ahead and take care of this one all together here. If my grandma buys me 1,000 shares of stock for my birthday, I know that that's not counted in GDP because stocks are not productive, right? Non-productive is the way to say that, right? It's a financial asset, and so that's not actually counted in GDP. If I spend $487 on a new pair of loafers, right? So it's new and it is a consumer good, handmade in the United States. Yes, that's counted, and it is consumption spending. And again, up here, I'm giving you kind of all 8 categories because sometimes it's going to be a little easier to see it as one category versus another. Number 3, your parents buy you a new condo built this year to live in while you attend NYU. So this new condo built this year, yes, it's counted, and it's new construction. So we would say it's investment spending, right? So we kind of say here, new construction, right? New construction. And for this one, this is just a durable good. Actually, I don't know that footwear is a durable good. I think it might be a non-durable. Non-durable. Non-durable just means that it's designed to last less than a year. So I think shoes would be non-durable. You buy your cousin's gently used. Right, there's your T, the keyword. 2013 Maserati Subaru, reliable source of transportation. No, that's not counted. It's because it's used. You bake a dozen homemade cupcakes. Oh, that's very nice. Homemade cupcakes for the garden party. No, it's not a market transaction, non-market. So there was nothing sold, right? You didn't sell the cupcakes. You didn't go to the store and buy them. You pay this year for the services of tuition, room, and board at NYU. Yes, that would count. And that would count as consumption spending. That's a service. It actually tells you here, services. You go to the bank and turn a $10,000 savings bond into $10,000 in cash. No, that doesn't count. That's non-productive. Non-productive. It's just a financial asset. So I'll put that here, financial asset. Number 8, at the end of the year, your mother's company has its $2.4 million more in inventory. Yes, that would count. It's investment, and it's a change in inventory. So that would count. Number 9, your parents buy a really old house, so they have space to entertain. So when they buy this really old used house, that doesn't count, right? No used. A brief word about that is that the actual way that the GDP is calculated, this would count as imputed rent. And it's a little bit complicated, but know that number 9 is maybe a little bit like not quite technically correct here. But I'm trying to get you to see that the value of used things doesn't count. But the way that they actually calculate GDP, they take the value of people's owned houses and they try to figure out how much would that cost if they were renting it, and then they include that so that way they can kind of smooth out any changes over time. Because you can imagine if you have lots of people who are renting, rent directly counts in GDP, whereas buying and owning a house doesn't, because it's a used financial asset in some kind. It's real estate, so it's not really financial. But you're buying a used asset, so that wouldn't count. So the way that they take that into account so that we don't basically make it look like our GDP is really small because a bunch of people buy houses is we take the value of the houses and we say, how much would it cost to rent that? And so we do something called imputed rent. Right? Long story short, though, anything used doesn't count in GDP. When they bought the house, it didn't actually count into GDP. It would just count as an ongoing basis, and the statistical folks would actually figure that out in the back end. All right. Back to the regularly scheduled programming. Number 10, the government pays $30 billion to Boeing in an order of new fighter jets. Yes, that would count. Yes, it's government spending. New goods, right? New goods by the government. And that would be a fighter jet. So good luck to Boeing getting all of those fighter jets made. Number 11, you earn $3,000 in interest income on your savings accounts at the bank. And initially I have some students who think, oh, savings accounts, you're not doing anything. But this is, yes, it would, because it's interest, right? It is directly here. It's your interest income. Interest is income. I know that seems like circular, but interest is one of the 4 categories, WRIP, which is, we actually use pi to do that. We don't use P for that because P stands for price. Your friend's grandma collects $1,200 each month in Social Security transfer payments, right? Transfers don't count, never count. Transfers don't count, right? Transfers are non-market. Nothing is being bought and sold. And so we would say that doesn't count. You rent a $5,000 per month apartment in the trendy Brooklyn neighborhood of Red Hook. Yes, that would count, is rent. And so rent on property. rent on property. And again, I'm going to put like a thing over here and say imputed rent. I don't think you're going to see any questions about imputed rent, but I just do think it's valuable for you to not be totally lied to by your econ teacher. Number 14, you buy a new TV made for your dorm room that was made in China, and you are obviously here in the United States. Yes, that would count. It's net exports, so it is technically an imports. So imports count against, right? So it's actually subtracting from our GDP. When you do that, it reduces the US GDP and it increases China's GDP as an export from China, and it reduces our GDP in the amount of the value of the import. Your stockbroker earned $48,000 in commission service fees for managing your stock portfolio. So this is service fees. So yes, it would count. And it's consumption, right? From your perspective, it's consumption. From his perspective, it's wages. And so you can kind of see how you could actually use multiple levels on these here. But services count in C. And number 16, your uncle buys an imports. So a lot of people would think imports a used Gulfstream. So no, used never counts. Used never counts. It doesn't count in this year. It counted in the year then it was made. Number 17, your mom buys 400 store-made cupcakes for your sister's garden party. Yes, now those cupcakes are going to count because they're consumption spending, right? They are non-durable goods. They're goods that are consumed within a year, and hopefully we consume those cupcakes within a year. And then last but not least, 18, your father earns dividend income from his 400 shares of Apple stock. Yes, that counts, and it counts as profit, right? Dividends are profit. And so we would say that that would count. Pi equals profit. We learned that last semester. So hopefully this helped you with kind of practicing. Do I know what goes into GDP and do I don't? Why and why not? And what categories they are? I'll see you next time.